Good afternoon. This is the mid-afternoon slump, but you know what? You cannot go to sleep. Doesn't work. Y'all are smiling. That's a good sign. I'm going to start. My name is Beheler, and we're going to talk about virtual internships. And I'd like to start first by finding out, why are you here? What do you want to know? Brenda, what do you want to know? I know Brenda.
This is exciting to hear that there's another way to connect students. I'm interested in, what the differences are and how companies think through doing such a thing.
Okay. All right. Well, it'll be interesting at the end to see if it's what you think it might be. Yeah. Hi.
Hey,
Tell me who you are and who you're with, too. I would happen to know Brenda already.
I'm a job placement specialist from Berkeley One Stop.
Ah, great.
I'm actually applying to might or might not be interested in.
Okay, good. And I know Mark. Mark is with our center, so I won't ask him. He's here because he's with us. All right. Okay.
I'm hearing from San Diego to the college and
I will agree with you 100% on that. Okay? It is a cool thing to put in your capstone classes. Okay?
And then I'm at Many College in Frisco, in the Bay Area.
Uh-huh.
And I'm supposed to know about this.
Okay. Okay.
I'm Marina, and I'm from Massachusetts, Maryland College.
Oh, yay.
And it really resonates with our students. They are very busy and very unrelated jobs, and getting them to something that's relevant to their degree would be great virtually.
Yes, and the unrelated jobs sometimes are very, very important because it puts the food on the table that pays the tuition, that pays for the place to sleep, and, a few minor little things like that. It's kind of important along the way. Yeah.
And I'm Corinne Sandy, Cyberwatch West, and Watkins Community College in Washington State, and I'm just interested in learning about it.
Can he get in?
Yeah.
Okay, if they want to. Okay. All right, cool. All right.
I'm Guillermo from City College. I just want to find out the differences between a regular internship and a virtual internship.
Okay, super. All right, we're starting off with, why are you here? Like, what do you want to know?
And I want to know exactly about virtual internships.
Okay.
I mean, I understand the traditional internship, but I would like to understand the virtual internship, especially because I work with web development. So,
Great. Good. Okay. And what do you want to know about virtual internships? Or why do you think they're interesting?
how to make use of it.
Okay. All right.
By students or
Okay. Good.
whatever it is.
Okay. Good. Well, why are internships important? Why do we like those? Why do you like internships? Why do students like internships? Why do businesses like internships? Experience, right? It's especially important with a student who has little or no experience at all when they're going out into industry, or a student who is changing jobs or changing careers, right? Very, very important. It is extremely important that the student has some kind of experience. And for those of you who don't know, I taught networking for a very, very long time. I developed the very first IT program, well, not IT program, networking program within the state of Texas that was vendor specific. Now we've got all these vendor programs now, all sorts of different kinds of vendor programs now. But that was very unusual. We're talking mid-90s. It was very unusual to use public funds to teach courses that were vendor-specific. I had to go all the way to the state coordinating board and fall on my sword and produce data to support the fact that it was a good idea to teach a Novell C&E program. Anybody remember C&E? Hey. You're smiling, but a lot of people got jobs in the C&E program. They really, really did. So anyway, I am very much committed to providing workforce programs that help students get high-paying jobs, whatever that happens to be at the time. And as you can tell, it has changed greatly over the years. In fact, it changes greatly over every 2, 3, 4 months. And we are very, very connected with business through the National Convergence Technology Center. Convergence technology is basically IT plus communications. It's another word for ICT. Our business people don't like the term ICT. It's, you know, regionally oriented, what can I say? But anyway, we started in 2004 as a regional center, and in 2012 we became national. We were funded as a regional center because in 2004 the IT world was, I will say, in disarray. If you can think back that far, if you were in the IT industry at that point in time, this was right after the dot-com bust. And right before the dot-com bust, we were not going to ever be able to train enough IT workers to satisfy the demand. Kind of deja vu this morning when James was talking. It's like, oh my gosh, we'll never have enough. I'm like, oh no, does that mean we're going to have another bust? I hope not. I hope that's not what we're facing at this point in time. Anyway, we became national in 2012, not necessarily because we particularly wanted to become national, but we have a mentoring program, and the people that signed up for our mentoring program were all over the nation, even though we were regional, so we just organically became national. We are extremely business-led. We have all sorts of partners that are universities and community colleges across the nation. And we also use our center and 3 other National Science Foundation centers as the basis for a big DOL tax grant. We were one of the guinea pigs in round 1, and I call us a guinea pig because there was a lot that was not known about the DOL tax grants at that point. Those who have done round 2 and 3 and 4 since then have a little bit more structured environment, although there are several unknowns. You don't need to take lots of notes. If you want this presentation, we'll put it on our website. It probably will be available here. You don't worry about taking lots and lots of notes. Anyway, we created a DOL tax grant that was funded, $20 million worth. And this particular grant actually focuses on programming, networking, cybersecurity, geospatial technologies, and we have worked on the virtual internship, externship model, both within the Convergence Technology Center, funded by NSF, and also through the DOL TAC grant. And here's just showing that the 4 National Science Foundation Centers supported 4 different strands within IT. And there you can see that we have colleges supporting the DOL grants that are also national. All the work is business driven, and I can't emphasize that enough. For those of you who do not know, many of the funding agencies are averse to the term advisory. They do not like the word advisory. If I give you advice, what do you have to do with it? Absolutely nothing. Okay? If you are in education, you probably have to politely take notes, and you probably have to write those notes up. But it's not necessarily tightly coupled with what you do with your program. Many of the funding agencies believe that advisory counts as rubber stamp programs that faculty decide they want to do for various reasons that may or may not be 100% related to business demand. Now, I'm not going to say that's always the case. It isn't. But I will advise you that some of the funding agencies do not like the word advisory. So what's in a name? We decided to change the name of our team because it really was more of a leadership team, and changed it to, first of all, we changed it to business leadership team, but BLT, do you really want your business team to be a sandwich? No. So we called it Business and Industry Leadership Team, and we have a very tightly coupled arrangement whereby we have them determine the knowledge, skills, and abilities that they wish us to teach. And that's not the focus of this discussion today. However, we do have them meet quarterly, and we do have them work with us very, very carefully to tell us what they want. And as a result, we have very little difficulty getting the graduate jobs. In fact, we have people standing in line to get the graduates. They do lead the work, and they will lead. They will be heavily involved. They will work with us as long as they believe we are listening. At the point that they're dedicating their time, I've seen this happen with other colleges, when businesses are dedicating their time and the colleges are not listening and are not implementing what the businesses want, then they stop participating. But we have people that have been involved in our group now for over 10 years. The fellow on the right there was finally stepping down as chair of our build after almost 10 years chairing, and the reason he was stepping down was because he is now traveling about 3 weeks out of 4. It was getting pretty difficult for him to be involved with us. He's actually the Chief Innovation Officer for Dell, and he's over in EMEA, Europe. I don't remember what EMEA stands for, Europe, Middle East, and something. Anyway, he is out of town 3 weeks out of 4, and he handed it over to the fellow on the left, who is Matt Glover with AMX. And literally, the fellow on the right, I would ask him on a particular date. I said, okay, Glenn, what are you doing on, pick a date, February 26th, 2015. He'd look at his calendar first and see if he was available, and then he'd say, where are we going and what are we doing? He was that committed and is still that committed to the program. But right now, if I ask him what he's doing on February 26th, 2015, he's probably going to tell me which city in Europe he's in. So that doesn't work too much anymore. They actually do work as a leadership team, and we do listen to them. They're not advisory anymore. And if you want to get into that whole concept with me, I'd be very happy to work with you on it. One meeting a year does work on the KSAs, and the rest of them are teleconferences that talk about trends and forecast needs. The other thing I think that's really bad is that if we have programs that turn out students for jobs that don't exist regionally, it's okay to have them prepared for jobs that exist nationally if they know that in advance, that they may have to relocate. But some people actually like living where they're living and don't want to relocate. So I think truth in advertising, we do have to tell them that it's appropriate or that it's very likely that they might have to relocate. The BILT participates in lots of different things. They participate in all sorts of recruitment events. What better recommendation do you have for your program than one of your business people coming in and telling the students that the jobs out there are really, really, really good jobs, and that this program is a really, really, really good way of preparing the students for those jobs. Panels at conferences, et cetera, et cetera. They also tell us what sorts of things are really necessary to prepare the students for those jobs, and that's where some of this virtual internship material came from. They wanted the students to have a portfolio of finished projects. They also wanted the students to always have internships that were documented. And I started pushing back and saying, well, what do we do if the students, in fact, are already working a job at, I don't know, Macy's, whatever, to put food on the table, and they are not in a position to be able to give up that job to be able to go do an internship? And they said, well, let's put our brains together and let's figure this out. Let's figure out how we can get around it. Again, we've already talked about this. The purpose of an internship is to have experience, for the student to have experience. See if they like the work. Although I will say I think an internship is probably a bad way to see if they like the work. I'd rather have the student figure out if they like the work on the front end of doing the program as opposed to the back end of doing the program. Also, it's an opportunity, though, for the students to interface with the business leaders and to develop a mentor-mentee relationship with those business leaders that would potentially give them the opportunity to ask questions of the business people along the way, so that they maybe will have better insight into what they should do to prepare for a job, what they should do as a part of an interview, what they should consider in terms of courses they take, etc. Again, barriers. Already have a job? Do you have more internships than you can find students to take? Sometimes yes. Do you have more students than internships? Sometimes yes. Oftentimes it's not even a matter of having too many internships or too many students. It's a matter of a mismatch on timing. Can you start an internship anytime during your semester? Some colleges can, some colleges can't. Some colleges have to start internships within the first 3 or 4 weeks of the term starting. There are all sorts of different reasons. And sometimes the internships do not highlight soft skills very well. Are your business people talking about soft skills as being a lacking component or a lacking set of skills that your students may or may not have? Is that something that's coming up with you from your business people? If it's not, you're not talking to your business people very much. That's not what I'm going to say, because soft skills is something they talk about as much or more than the hard skills. A virtual internship, and notice I'm going to throw in the word externship now. What's an externship? What do you think it is?
Well, I think it's for teachers.
It's for teachers. Yeah. I don't know. Faculty members, you have all the time in the world, right? Okay, at least you laughed and didn't throw tomatoes at me. Why are you teaching IT? You have to do new things every few months, few years, well, no, months. Why are you teaching that instead of English? Other than maybe you hate English.
We love IT.
We love IT. I know, Carmen, yes. I love IT too, but you get to do more and more new things just as a part of the job, don't you? But how do you learn all those new things? You come to things like this, right? Do you go to some of the summer training? Yes. Self-study, lots of self-study. But do you ever really get to go work on the job? Sometimes, yes. Sometimes you might get to. But an externship is a formalized method whereby the instructor actually gets to go do some work with a business person. I would argue that when I was teaching, it was a struggle to find time to really keep up with the industry. I knew I had to do it, and I did it, but it was a hard thing to do. So the virtual externship portion of it, this whole thing is designed to provide an opportunity for the faculty member to get exposure to some of the latest, greatest as well as the student. It's a soft skills builder. Experiences both for the faculty member and for the student. There's a link here if you want to use the link later on to see what's going on. But basically the outline is that you would have a project of a sufficient complexity that you would have project teams. Could be a capstone, but you know what? It doesn't have to just be for the capstone. We started out saying it really had to be a capstone course. It doesn't really have to be a capstone course. It does have to be something complex enough that you would have teams involved, that it wouldn't be just a single contributor, because if you have a student who is just doing the project work on their own, do they get to do teamwork? Probably not. Or at least not very much of it. They probably don't get the interaction that much. So you need something complex enough that you're going to have teams. Instead of having a business manager for the intern, there would be a business mentor. And the business mentor does not have to be co-located with the students. The business mentor can be any place in the world. It does not matter where. Actually, it matters a little bit because the time zones get a little bit difficult to manage if they're halfway across the world. It could be anywhere in the United States if you're teaching in the United States. And the teams, if you had a classroom of students, maybe, I don't know, a capstone course might be a smaller class, might be 20, 24 students. You might have the faculty member be the day-to-day project lead for the group. And then the business mentor would be involved with him as the overall client, if you will, for the group. And the business mentor would characterize the project and answer questions via webinar and email, meeting with the group 4 or 5 times during the semester via something like WebEx or via something like GoToMeeting, any of the webinar type capabilities, and then communicating via email otherwise. The students would design and build a solution to the problem, again with not constant but frequent interaction either via email or via the webinar with the business person. And then they prepare a report and a presentation throughout the semester and then present the final solution to a business panel. The business panel could be face-to-face or could be virtual as well. And what do you think they get out of this? Well, it's solving a business problem, it's coming up with a solution, it's documenting a solution, it's presenting, it's working as a team, okay? It's presenting to businesses. It's very much like an internship type job. They're not getting paid for it. In fact, they're having to pay to take the class. However, they can continue taking continue working their regular job, whatever that is. And as it turns out, it provides a very nice, written, documented entry in their portfolio that they can use when going to get a job. Here's a specific example. We have the Capstone Networking course. This was our pilot, our first pilot. And Tu Nguyen, Vice President of IT for Comerica Bank, was the mentor. He met with the group 4 or 5 times that semester. The faculty lead was Coach Grissom. Some of you may know him if you're in the IT world. He's pretty active in the Frisco world. The students were tasked with designing a multi-site solution for a business problem. This was not, ideally, I think it's better if you have a real-world problem that the business person comes up with. However, it is difficult to get a business person to define a problem that can be solved in a semester. They want to come up with this huge thing, and getting it to be solved within a semester is a difficult proposition. Ideally, it either needs to be solved in a semester or it needs to be something that you've designed that can be handed off to the next team, and that is more complex than I wanted to deal with. The students had to come up with a budget. They had to work as a team. They had to present the solution, and they actually, in this particular case, had to build a pro forma solution showing at least part of the solution, which was very interesting. The students, again, 4 or 5 times they met via webinar. They also emailed. They also met themselves. The class met weekly, but 4 or 5 times they met with Mr. Nguyen. And when they weren't meeting with Mr. Nguyen, they were meeting with each other and with a faculty member. And they discussed all the various developments. They sent their designs, their schematics, their actual programs, the scripts that they were putting into the routers and so forth. And the culmination at the end was with a bunch of IT experts. And we allowed that final culmination to be face-to-face for the very first one. We learned a lot, not the least of which was we needed to let the people that came to the final presentation know what kind of background these students had, because they were ruthless on those kids. They were terrible to those kids. I actually sat by one of the business people and finally went, wait a minute, wait a minute. I thought they were going to destroy their confidence entirely because they were so rough on them. But actually, it turned out very, very well. This is in the presentation. I will give this to you. I will show you here real quickly what is available. I'm not going to have you read all of it. This talks about the build itself, more information on the build. This actually talks more about the build too. But this was the first pilot from the students. Maybe I'll show you this much of it. All 3 of the students that were in the initial pilot. Actually, you can't hear that, can you? You can?
All kinds of different aspects to it. internship program has been very, very good for us for several years. Faculty is very excited about the externship program because from a virtual perspective, they don't have to spend the same amount of time that they would have to study at home, and they get that relationship with industry. Through this program, I was able to work with.
This was a 13th grader,
students,
straight out of high school.
On building a network, and each of us had our own strengths, but really we worked together as a team, and we were able to pull it off at the end.
This was, I'll tell you about each of them a little bit later.
They don't have as much interaction with industrial situations as they could, and the internship program allows them to have that experience. The professor got us involved with this program, got us a mentor to help us with our networking projects.
And also know their demeanor, how they work with other people.
That's the instructor.
Yeah, it's an easy way to do an interview without them knowing it.
That's exactly what happened.
I've enjoyed it. It took some of the pressure off of me by having that internship, by having that mentor from industry. But I actually learned a few things also about what's happening in the industry. After being an academic for so long, still get my fingers out there, but not on a daily basis.
He was there mentoring us all along. So that was like, he had kind of like a face-to-face meeting.
I think it worked wonderfully. It was very helpful to us when we needed him. He was prompt in his responses and direct with the questions we asked him. He has been a wonderful mentor this semester, and it's been an honor to work with someone with such knowledge that he has.
I had a great experience going through this program.
Yeah, everything's been provided that we needed, and it's been overall a great experience.
Well, I think from the student's perspective, this was a win-win.
It's a pleasure to work with these students. And they're bright and smart, and they are focused, and they're brave, so you know.
From here, I'm going to take certification exams and enter the workforce.
Okay, so there are, I may have to start this over for this one. No, I did that right. Okay, the three people, the young man whom I called a 13th grader, he literally was right out of high school, came to us, went through our program in networking, and as a result of the program and also the virtual internship, he is working now for a Cisco reseller and making quite a nice, handsome salary. The other young man was already working, but he managed to parlay the portfolio entry and the virtual internship into a $15,000 a year increase. And then the woman actually had a CS degree, but she took off almost 20 years to rear her children, came back to us and got a certificate and used the virtual internship as part of her evidence of retraining, evidence of I know my stuff, and she is working directly for the regional office of Frisco in our area. She does not have a master's degree, and normally they require a master's degree before they hire in our area. So she's done very well. Now, the other piece here is that we had a similar result from a full implementation with 16 students after that, and this year, even more interesting, we have two Cisco 2 courses that are 2 sections that are going to act as consultants to the capstone group working on the subnet masking scheme for the solution. And then we have 2 Cisco 4 sections that are going to act as consultants. In fact, they're going to be competing with one another for the security scheme for the solution. And then the capstone course will be interviewing, or I guess considering, the solutions offered by the Cisco 2 courses, or Cisco 2 sections and the Cisco 4 sections, and choosing one of the solutions as they go forward. That way, the professor says, hey, the Cisco 2 students and the Cisco 4 students will have had previous exposure to this whole thing, so that by the time they get to the capstone course and go into the virtual internship, externship, doing the whole thing, they will already have had some experience. So they'll have 3 things in their portfolio by the time they get there. Anyway, the business people are very, very pleased with it. They're happy with the results. They're saying, yeah, of course, an internship where someone actually goes and works for a company is very valuable. That's important. However, would you turn a green employee intern loose, designing a multi-site networking solution? And would you, the actual work you would have them doing probably would not be this complex, I guess is what they're saying. So it's worked out very, very well, and we're going to be continuing it. And again, the portfolio, the reason for the portfolio, as the person from Dell said, if you're coming in for an interview and you don't have experience, would you rather have me ask you how many balloons would it take to fill up this room, or would you rather have me ask you, what about this particular project in your portfolio? Would you like to explain this particular project that you've already done? You know, because the whole thing is, what is your critical thinking skill? What's your ability to analyze a problem? What are your skills that you're going to be bringing to the table if I should choose to hire you? So it's worked out very, very well. That's it. Questions? What do you think?
Well, we had an employer send out some jobs last month, and we sent out 3 students, and one of the students got the job, and the other 2 didn't get it just because they had no internship experience at all. That was the only difference. You know, actually the grades were even better for the other students, but the one with the internship got the job. And they had openings. Lots of openings.
Right.
There were 10 some. And it was just, the difference was just internship.
I think that's going to be more and more true. Plus, I think the virtual side of it is going to be more and more relevant. When the whole CNE thing, I had a love affair with Novell along the way. I ended up director of certifications at Novell in the late 90s, early 2000s. And some of the people I worked with, my virtual team, I never met. They were in India. But that didn't mean that I didn't work with them integrally and depend on them as much as I depended on the people that actually reported to me in Utah. So the whole virtual team thing is very, very important.
So the question is, are they accepting the virtual internship as an internship? Is that your?
I think it comes up to how well does the student sell it? And did they document what they did well enough to explain what they did? So far, the proof has been in the pudding, and yes, it's working. You know, it's working very well, yes.
So your mentor was part of your build?
Yes,
group?
yes.
So the core of this, basically, then, to make this really work is to build a build group.
I didn't pay you for that, but I could have. Yeah, the key to everything that we've done that has worked is our build. I think if you take away nothing else from this meeting, you could, I mean, virtual internship is important. It's a model. It works.
Right.
But having a very, very strong business and industry leadership team is the paramount, most important thing you can do to build your program.
Well, the capstone principle is great, but it seems to me that if you're going to try to sell this to as a part of your if you're trying to sell this to a company saying, hey, this is what I've done, having an integration with another business overlooking the project, I think adds a little bit more validity.
Oh yes. But interestingly enough, the employers of the students that have accepted the virtual internship, those employers were not part of our build.
Right. No, I'm just saying that when the students explaining what happened and the fact that they were mentored by a business person versus a teacher, not. I think adds a little bit more validity to the project, the capstone project itself.
You are exactly right. That is totally true.
So there's a business reference too.
It's a business reference. Now, I presented something similar to this at another conference, and someone from Frisco College, GD Minor, the president there, said, we're looking for internships in all sorts of discipline areas, not just super technical ones. She said, this would apply in music. Hadn't thought about that. But her comment was, our students in the community college population area all face similar issues. Single parents, working people, can't afford to quit one job just to go do an internship. Can't do a 20-hour-a-week job on top of a 40-hour-a-week job on top of working or taking courses for 20 hours a week. There's just not enough time in the world. So she said this has real possibilities. Now, is it the same as internship, working for someone else? No, clearly not. However, the complexity of the kinds of projects that can be worked on could be more complex, and the availability such that all students could do it. Pretty neat. The other thing that I did, I came from industry before I went to Nobel. I came from industry into teaching networking. And one of my pet peeves was trying to hire from a pool of students out of college who had no concept of the real world, if you will. And I had them do a project in every single technical class, every single one. They hated it, absolutely hated it. Every single project was a team project. The complexity of the project was commensurate with the level of the class. The very first is network administration class, like a net class or something like that. That particular class was very basic, but they had to work as a team. And sometimes the specs changed. Has anybody worked in industry where specs changed? Has anybody worked in industry where specs didn't change? You know? That's a reality. That's what happens. And I made them write them up. Sometimes I gave them kind of loose descriptions of what had to be involved in the project. It had to have 3 sites. It had to be on 3 continents. And sometimes I got more than I bargained for. I had one group that designed a project for drug runners, which was like, no, I don't think that's what we want here. So I had to kind of change the requirements. It had to be legal from there on out. But nevertheless, they learned a lot. And by the time they got through with their series, they had anywhere from 7 to 10 projects. And the whole point of the matter was, okay, 7 to 10 projects. Arguably, the first 1 or 2 probably weren't the greatest, right? But how many projects do you want to take to an employer? 2 or 3? Probably pick the best 2 or 3, right? So pick the best 2 or 3, take them to the employer, and say, I don't have a lot of experience, but here are the projects I've done in school, and let's talk about these. You know, we have to teach these students to guide the discussion. They don't need to be bumped on a log and wait for the employer to ask them questions. The other thing we've done through part of the DOL grant is we are having workshops on resume building. We're having workshops on interviewing skills and all those sorts of things. They don't need to be a blank slate when they go to that employer for that very first interview. Yes, question?
Who designed the project? The employer, or in conjunction with the instructor, and was there class credit or grade given to the virtual internship?
Yes, to all of that. Okay, there was a loose, how many of y'all have done Cisco before? Oh, okay, Cisco before, remember the threaded case studies when they used to do that? Okay, I hate that they got rid of that, frankly. It was kind of a pain to deal with, but it was a good learning experience. So the project it started from a loose interpretation of some of those. This particular capstone course at Collin College is set up so that if you had the 4 CCNA classes, you could take it. if you had the 4 CCNA and all the CCNP courses you could take it. Well, arguably, if you have the 4 CCNA courses, you probably don't know as much as if you have the 3 CCNP courses. Actually, there used to be 4, but anyway. So the instructor was varying the project based on the number or the capabilities of the students that signed up. So he took the project and worked with the business mentor to adjust based on the capability level of the students that signed up. But they were not typically having lots of students sign up until we got the business people involved. Now that we have the business people involved, they're selling totally out on this class. Because the advantage is not just doing the project. The advantage is the relationships that are being able to be established with the business people. Yeah.
So you don't have anybody in California yet, do you? From that map? Well, actually, I don't want to put Claudia Basile on the spot.
Uh-oh.
I've done that already.
I started something very similar at development.
Cool.
Because what I did is that I created like every time, because I came from the industry, every time I was receiving like, oh, can you develop a website for me? Can you do a
Yeah,
this is for us at CMA.
Great.
So she's doing it already.
Wonderful.
But without any support. So
Sure.
connect the two of you.
Sure.
Because I mean, then what I did is that instead of me doing during my summer, I would put students doing it.
Yeah.
And I was acting just as a mentor for them. And then they started, so we did one that was completely remote because
Great.
there's a website
Yeah.
for guys in South Carolina.
Good.
So now she's running this, so this became a club. How many members do you have? 200?
I don't know. I even lost.
Fabulous.
Now it's much more. But what I think is missing is exactly the connection of the real business people.
Oh yeah, you have to have the real business people in there. And yes, they get grade, and I do, if you contact me, I've got the rubrics for how you grade it. I've got all of that.
Yes.
I didn't want to bring all that. Sherry.
Claudia's in the CMIT department of college, so let's formalize this, and then Ann can help you build this. She already has so much of it done.
Happy to help you with that. Yeah. And I have to give a plug before we're through. I've got a few more minutes here. I know. I'm watching. He said he was going to be merciless on the time. He will. That's fine, but I'm watching. I've got 5 minutes. My plug for you is the Convergence Technology Center out of Dallas. It's a national NSF center. And one of the things that is one of our missions is to develop our Convergence College Network. And that is a network of colleges that work together in more or less a community of practice. CPFS is part of it. And we share everything, pretty much. We also provide some travel stipends to come for training and a lot of things like that. I have some cards I'd like to share with you. Plus, don't you have the virtual internship outline? We've got an outline for that. Plus, it'll have, there's our website. We'll have this presentation up on the website. You can download it, and that'll get you the videos. I didn't mean to just totally jump over the videos, but I hate to sit in class and look at a video when I'm at a conference, and I don't want to bore you to death. But I think, I already retired from California once and moved back to Texas, and I'm probably going to stay in Texas, and I'll retire from there too, but I'm not giving up. I'll keep doing what I'm doing because it's fun, and it makes a difference. I was telling Brenda the thing that would be really cool is 10, 15, 20 years from now when one of those students that you're helping contacts you via LinkedIn and says, hey, remember me? And because of you, I got to do X, Y, Z. I had someone contact me recently, and that's so cool. So that's worth it. That's worth all of it. So if I can help you in any way, if you want to be a part of our Convergence College Network, you are very welcome to be so. We have a application on the web. Yeah. Anyway, we have all sorts of things we can help you with, and that's why we're in business. We're very happy to help. So, questions? I have 4 more minutes to read.
So I can relate. So what's the relationship with Built and the Convergence Network? Is Built a separate?
No, the Business and Industry Leadership Team is the lead for everything we do. They meet quarterly, and they lead everything we do. Absolutely everything we do. They wanted, in context of this, they wanted to ensure that all of our graduates had a portfolio of completed projects. They wanted everybody to have internships, that there are barriers there, that people can't necessarily have completed projects. And so we put our heads together and figured out that this might be the next best thing. Not that it is an either or, it's an and. Why not put this in all your courses? Small projects, bigger projects. Arguably, students can, I don't think students can have too much experience with teamwork. I just think that's something they need a lot of help with. You had a question or comment?
It's still, I love this. Of course, I'm trying to figure out how to apply it to younger students because we need to do internships at the high school level as well. What is the, you have the business leader as the mentor. So what is their motivation, or how do you get them to commit?
They want to get back.
So this is, it's voluntary.
It's voluntary.
Okay, and so on the projects that they do, if they are, like the one where you said they were designing a multi-network website, so where does that work happen? Is it their resources, or is it the school's resources?
School's resources. Okay. School's resources, and we didn't have a problem not having enough equipment. I suppose if we had had a problem not having enough equipment, many of these businesses would have provided equipment. And I suspect you'd find that in Chicago. I know you would. In fact, if you start having problems, I know people there too. Okay?